Then, so it's been a while. We did not have classes from past 4 days. So can someone quickly rewind what we have discussed in the previous class and what has to be discussed in this class?
So we were discussing about compound entries and how we can achieve through,
Okay.
yeah, how it can be achieved through, what is that? I'm unable to recollect it now. It's like lingering on my tongue actually.
hmm So we have discussed about how to post a journal entry. Then we
Yes.
discussed about how to post a compound entry. So compound entry is nothing but an entry which uses more than two accounts. Then we have seen the functionality of breakdown of the voucher,
Yeah, breakdown. Thank you, thank you.
and I have posted some transactions. I have showed you how to track the vouchers. I have also showed you how the balances gets impacted for each account once the transaction is posted under trial balance. Then we have also discussed about the header level menu items in a general journal header. Then we thought of discussing about the line level menu details and as well as the menu details in the journal name. So we have postponed it from a while. So since it can be
Jeffrey, can you share the screen?
definitely I'll share. Okay, Rushi started recording, no problem. So I'm here. Did I open it right? Yeah, I think so. So I'll change it to my R legal entity, which we were discussing or which we used for demo, MRF. So if you have any doubts, actually we can discuss in the end of the session today. For now, let us continue with the topic of our discussion. So we have discussed about, let me navigate you through general ledger and general journal. So here within this, we have discussed about the header level menu in the journal as well as the line level. We have to discuss about the line level menu. So I explained you how the header level menu items or the yes or no options generally impact the journal or the construction of a journal or the posting of journal. So all those things we have seen. So there are two journals which were in not posted state, and there are more journals which were posted. So I have posted quite few journals, and there are only two journals which were not posted. So previously we are discussing in the previous class we discussed this menu. How about the details here, and then the lines limit, reversing entry option. In the setup we have this default offset account we have discussed, which we have also tested this. It automatically took a default offset account for each and every line that we added in the journal. Then we have seen these sales tax options. So the how this amount includes sales tax work and what happens if I keep it as no. So I told you with an example like this one. A tax will be calculated upon the base amount if in case it is excluded or if it is set to no, or in case if it is set to yes, amount will be included within the sales tax. Like within this 1,000, the total amount base amount will be 911 and sales tax amount will be 89. So amount will be included within the base amount, or sales tax amount will be included within the base amount. We have seen this as well, and we have also seen this blocking, how this blocking page works. I have also told you some in supports in some situations where you face a situation like a journal is blocked or is being used by another user, or it is private for user group. So that things actually will be given here in the header level of a journal. If at all a journal has to be kept private or should be blocked by someone, they will come to this page and use it. Then I explained you how we can give default financial dimensions to our lines that we create in the journal. Then the history of a journal, if it is posted or if it is submitted to a workflow and all. So here I want to explain you a concept called as workflow, which we are not using here, or we might cover it later in our course actually, the configuration of workflow and how it works. So generally a workflow is a mechanism where whenever a journal is created, it will be sent for an approval. So we will design a workflow. We will design the step-by-step method of who have to approve the workflow, who are the persons, I mean, who are the persons who have permissions to approve such workflow or such journal. So that mechanism is there. For now, we don't have any workflows enabled for any of our journals in this legal entity. We can create and enable workflows if we want. So in that case, what happens is user will not have a direct permission to post any journal. Here previously I have posted a lot of journals. I did not go for any approval or any workflow mechanism. But when we have workflow mechanism enabled, users have to submit it to the workflow. Their superior or the person whoever reviews on the top level will go through the journal, will approve the journal. Once they approve it, the user will again get a permission to post the journal. Until and unless the people who has to approve the workflow or the journal workflow approves it, user will not have any permission to post the journal. Okay. So when somebody asks in interview what is the workflow mechanism in Dynamics, just explain these points. That workflow mechanism controls the journals, who when it has to be posted, who has to review it, who has to post it. So all these things are controlled by workflow mechanism in Dynamics. So workflow is everywhere for normal journals as well as for purchase orders, for invoices, for fixed asset journals. Everywhere there is a workflow. Okay. Someday I'll show you how to design a workflow and how to apply that workflow to journals and use it actually. Since I am the only person who is, I mean, having the system access here or who can log into this environment, I can't show you with more examples like 2 or 3 people. If at all there are 2 or 3 users using the same environment, then I could have showed you. I mean, I could have given them permissions to approve and showed you that. But here it's not easy to demonstrate. However, I'll try my best later to explain you about how the workflow mechanism.
So it's more about authorization, right?
Yeah, it is about authorization. So normally in business, users will have permissions to create journals. They'll create journals, they'll create lines within the journals, create the transactions, but they don't have permissions to post it until and unless someone in the higher level will review it and approve it. So when I send the journal to workflow, what happens is the reviewer or whoever is having permissions will get a notification in their dynamics saying that you are having a journal to approve. So they will go through that journal, they will review it. If everything is perfect, they will approve it. If they approve it, user can post it. Or sometimes they can also reject it, finding if they find any mistakes or anything wrong, they'll reject it or they'll say that you might have to correct something else in this, and later once again the user will correct all those things and resubmit it to the workflow.
So, so how similar it is to user roles kind of thing, user roles and all those things.
Actually, workflow is designed on the basis of user roles only. So in workflow, you will give approvers. So 2 or 3 people will approve, or at least one person will approve a workflow of a journal. So that person can be an individual user. So if you create username, you can give that workflow approval permission to that user only. Or you can also give workflow approval permission to a particular role. Suppose accountant role. There can be 2, 3 users with that accountant role. Anyone in that accountant role can approve that. In that case, if you give it to a role. Okay. Either
Thank you.
you can either give it to a one individual person by name, or you can give it to a role wherein for that particular role there can be 2 or 3 users. Anyone can from that role can approve that particular journal. Okay, it all depends upon organization's plan how the workflow mechanism has to work. So according to the client's requirement, we have to configure. Mostly finance functional consultant doesn't work on workflows, so it will be dealt by technical consultants or the admin team, whoever works with this organization administration and system administration modules. But it's good that if you will learn that too. It's a general concept.
Okay.
Yes, issue.
As I said in the previous class, once an entry is posted, we can't be corrected. It can't be corrected
Yes.
back.
Yes.
So then, how come? Means if he posted and there should be a correction wherein an authorizer should review it and he find that something should be corrected.
Hmm.
In that case, what would be the scenario?
See, if a journal is created and it is sent for approval, it's not posted yet. It is just in a draft status and someone have to approve it. The other person, the approver, sees some mistakes in it and rejects it, saying that it has to be corrected. So it is not posted yet. You can make any corrections as you wish. Later, after correcting, again it goes for approval. And if this time he approves it, you will post it. So once after posting, you can't make any corrections. You cannot revert it, bring it back to unposted state. Okay.
Okay, fine. So until and unless once a transaction got posted, means
Hmm.
reviewed and posted by an authorizer, it will be in a draft status only.
Yeah, mostly authorizers does not post. They'll just review it and approve it. The user only will post it once the approval is done. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Hmm. So as I told you previously, data in Dynamics will be saved in multiple tables in the backend. That's cloud tables, what we call. So in that tables, data will be saved. If at all I have to make a posted transaction as unposted, I have to clear all the impacts that are done by that particular posting the transaction. So data will be saved in a lot of tables once I post the transaction. Everything has to be cleared. All the accounting impacts has to be cleared. The voucher has to be made disappeared, and then the journal has to be brought into an unposted state. For this, a high range code has to be developed, and Microsoft will not recommend for entering such kind of code in the system. Even though your technical consultant developed such kind of code, if your environment is a cloud managed environment which is handled by Microsoft, Microsoft will not approve to run that code in your production environment. Only if it is your on-premise environment and you only have full rights on your environment rather than Microsoft, then you can run whatever code you want, but that too is of a risky matter. That might also remove any other important data that is already existing. If at all a code fails, then there are a lot of chances that you might lose additional data along with this particular data. So nobody will risk to change the data that is posted. Mostly they will try to post the correction entries, or they will try to reverse the transaction. We have a process for that. I'll show you later.
So I think
Okay.
not routine transactions might not have this kind of workflow authorizations, right? Maybe there may be some important priority tasks.
It all depends on the client once again. So if they don't want to regulate few transactions, they will leave for the users. But if they want to regulate their users, most of them will have you use workflow mechanism and they'll regulate their users from posting small transactions even. Everything has to be approved properly.
Okay.
Okay. Every document, every transaction will go for approval. Once it is approved, then only most of them will post it, because having 2 3 reviews for a transaction is always better than merely going blind and posting a transaction.
True.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your questions. Then here for this particular journal, which is journal batch number 8008, let's see some lines. Oh, I mean within the lines we have some menu details, right? So let's see that part today. So previously we have created some lines here. So I have selected this expense account, I think. So what is this account? Rent expense account for Hyderabad. I have debited it for $100. Then I have selected my cash account for paying the same rent. Here in the second voucher, voucher number 009. So I have selected another expense account, which is a travel expense account. And again, Hyderabad location only I have selected. And I have selected $150 in the debit amount. I have entered it and then entered the offset account as a cash account to pay. So this is a voucher. So I'll try to explain you part by part. Previously, we have discussed this voucher construction as well as this part. So in this, actually, I can see two things. One is voucher amount, another one is journal amount. So voucher amount indicates the single voucher amount. So this is a single voucher 009. In this I have $150 amount, right? So 150 is debited, 150 is credited, and the balance is 0. It is showing the voucher balance. However, when it comes to journal, it shows the complete amount of all the lines. Sum of all the lines it will show. So sum of both the lines here is 100 plus 150, 250. So it is showing total 250 and 250 in the credit. I told you no need to enter the credit amount. So without entering credit amount, automatically for offset account, it will take the credit balance of whatever is there in the debit here. The same credit amount will be taken for the offset account. So here also it is taking the same. Debit and credit are taking same, and I see no imbalances in the voucher. So if at all there is an imbalance in the voucher, I can't post it. System will not allow you to post it because how much ever the debit amount you have in a voucher, the same credit amount should have. So this is a basic logic in accounting. Debits are always equal to credits. So without having a balanced voucher or a balanced journal, you cannot go ahead and post the journal. That's one thing. Remember that. So here I have something called budget check not performed. Actually, budgeting is not enabled for this legal entity yet. We did not configure the budgeting module. In case if we have budgeting module and for this account there is a budget limit. Suppose we only have $100 of limit and we are entering $150 of a transaction here. System will not allow me, saying that you are going beyond budget limits. The only allowed budget for this particular travel expenses account is $100 only. However, you are trying to post $150. So system will not permit you. Budget check will stop you, or budget control will stop you, saying that you are exceeding the amount of budget. So that happens when you configure the budgeting module and enable the budget control option. So for now we don't have any, so it doesn't perform the budgeting tasks or don't control anything related to budgeting. And once I click on this, I can see the things here. Account name as travel expenses account and offset account is cash account. So those are the two accounts that I used in this particular voucher. Travel expenses is debited and cash account is credited. The same is showing up here. Travel expenses and cash, debit and credit. And calculated sales tax amount. I don't have any applied sales tax codes to this particular transaction yet because we did not configure sales tax module yet. That is the case. We don't have any taxes calculated on this journal yet, on this voucher too. So the calculated sales tax and actual sales tax amounts is 0 only. So we will again discuss this part about sales tax. Once we configure sales tax codes, we'll post some normal journals like this and we'll see the application of sales tax at that point. So for now, just try to understand that we have some options which show up the calculated amounts, that's all. So this is with bottom level. Next, I'll come to this level. In this level, I have few options as I can see. So I can create a new voucher here by clicking on new, or I can delete a already existing voucher by clicking on delete. So if I click on new, it will create another voucher, voucher number 10. So I can see it here, voucher number 10. So if I delete it, it gets deleted. It removes the same voucher from the lines. Then I see this voucher option getting disabled. It will be enabled only once I post the journal. I post this particular voucher, and in this journal, if I post it, then I see this voucher available. Once I post it, I can see this in same blue color, and once I click on it, I can see the accounting impacts that were done in the system. We have seen that previously. We'll again see that once after posting this journal. Then I have option called as financial dimensions, but I see it is grayed out here actually. I don't have this option of selecting of account or offset account or payment account. This is only for subledger accounts. Subledger accounts are these accounts: customer, vendor, project, fixed asset, bank. If I would select any of these accounts here instead of a direct ledger account, then these things will get enabled, these financial dimensions. Actually, when I select ledger account here, I can directly select the financial dimensions. So I can directly select the location, department and cost center, whatever I want. But in the case of if I select a customer account or vendor account or fixed asset account, I can't directly select this financial dimensions here in this box. So I have to go through this one. So I'll explain you the same actually through another legal entity where it is fully configured, where I have customer and vendor accounts active. In this legal entity, we don't have any, right? We did not work with accounts payable and accounts receivable yet. So I'll just change this back to USMF, my favorite legal entity. So in USMF, I'll go for this journal which was already created. Just go for lines. So there is a line. I'll try to edit this. So I'm unable to edit this actually. I'm just remove this line. I think something is settled with this. So I'll create a new line here. See, I can select account type as customer or vendor. Suppose if I select a vendor account and I can select a list of vendors. I can't see ledger accounts here like rent account or anything. I don't see. I see all the vendors list. Vendor number 10123 and lot of vendors I have. Suppose if I select this vendor, here I can't see financial dimensions to select. So this option of selecting financial dimensions for subledger accounts which I select here is not available. If at all I have to give any financial dimensions to this particular vendor, I have to give it here. Click here. Then I can see this option of account is available now. Previously it is not available. Here when I click, when I use a ledger account, it is not available. But when I use a subledger account like vendor or customer or fixed asset, then it is available. If I click here, then I can add the dimension values here. For the vendor, I can add a dimension value. So this 001 is a default value actually added for vendor in the vendor master. So it is automatically populating. I can add a department if I want to. So I can add the sales and marketing department. So I can't directly add it here for subledger accounts. I have to add it through here. Okay. Either I can select a vendor account here or I can select a vendor account here. Sometimes I can select ledger account here and select vendor account here. In that case, I have to add financial dimensions to the offset account. Then that offset account will get enabled. Suppose here if I select ledger account and I select one of the existing ledger accounts, suppose I'll go for this accumulated depreciation generally. I'll go for vendor account. Select one of the vendor like the same Acme Office Supplies. Go for financial dimensions. See this time offset account is active because subledger account is selected in the offset account. Okay. So that's how this option works. Financial dimension selection. For ledger accounts, I can directly select it here, but for subledger accounts, I can't directly select. So that's why we have this option. Remember that. Then coming to this option, sales tax. If at all any sales tax is applied, or if you want to apply any sales tax to this particular voucher, we generally click here on the sales tax. So actually once a sales tax is applied, you can see that sales tax amount here. Sales tax code and the amount of origin, which means on which amount sales tax percentage is calculated and how much percent it is calculated and how much tax it is calculated and direction of sales tax. So everything, all the details of sales tax calculation you can see within here, this page, if at all any tax codes are applied, but we don't have any tax codes applied and no tax calculated yet. So I see this page as empty. That's with sales tax. So again with functions here, we have seen this option breakdown of voucher previously. So we'll see this option ledger accruals in the next class. Then I have this voucher of save voucher template, select voucher template and budget check errors. So this budget check errors or warnings can only be done only when budget is enabled. I told you previously. And coming to these two things, save voucher template, select voucher template, this can be used. Suppose if I'm creating this voucher and I want to save this voucher as a template. So whenever I want, I can retrieve it and I can use it. In that case, what I can do is I can use this option as save voucher template. So what it does is you can select percentage or amount. I'll generally go for amount and select it. So system will automatically save this voucher. So this voucher will be saved in the system memory and I can retrieve the voucher if I want. Suppose if I delete this voucher here and I'll again bring it back. Suppose if I go here and click on select voucher template. So it's not showing up. Let me try it once again. Let me try to save this voucher this time. Functions, Save voucher template. I'll go for percentage this time. And then I'll try to go for functions. Select voucher template. See, I can see this voucher template which is saved. So the same voucher template. So if I select this here and click on OK, so it asks me the amount again. So this time I'll give some 200, so $200 amount. I can click on OK. See here, the same voucher, I mean with a different number actually, the same accounts are selected. Amount, whatever I gave secondly, $200 I gave, right? So $200 is selected, same offset account is selected. So this voucher is just saved, and you can such that you can retrieve it anytime you want. Not only in this particular journal, you can retrieve it in any new journals that you create for any that you create further. If you want to retrieve it once again, I think you can also retrieve it once again. Select voucher and this is saved here, right? You can select it again and you can select it, retrieve it or create one more again. Like I gave $110. So the same voucher is retrieved again for $110. So that's the thing with this save voucher template and select voucher template. Got it, guys? Got understood this this level of menu items, what all we have here. So this is very basic. You have to clearly understand each and every functionality here. It's not obvious that everything will be used in Dynamics or your client will use everything. But if you have good idea of all these things, basic things, then you will be a good consultant. That's all. So any doubts in this part until here? In this part we have discussed other than this and this. Sairam Shankar.
No,
Santosh Bala.
I have one doubt. Maybe it is
Yes.
trivial. Like in the offset account of vendors, like what are the options that we have? In financial dimensions, we have options like department and all those things, right?
Hmm.
So in offset accounts of vendor, like just now before you have explained.
For the vendor also you'll get the same that you have in the account structure. Okay. You will use the
Pardon?
same. You will use the same financial dimensions you have in the account structure
Uh,
for the vendor accounts,
uh,
customer accounts, or any other accounts. Okay. So on screen,
mm,
you can see the vendor account or you can see vendor number 1001. But behind this vendor, there will be a ledger account again. Accounts payable account will be there behind this vendor. Whenever you do any transactions with this vendor, parallelly that accounts payable account will be debited and credited accordingly.
yes.
Hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the same financial dimensions will be used either for ledger accounts or for vendor accounts or customer accounts or anything. Whatever you configure in the account structure and advanced rules, the same will be used again for all the accounts in either ledger or sub ledger accounts. Okay, and then we have these options here in this level. So most of them will be repetitive compared to the header level menu. Let's see what them also quickly. So here I have this option of the voucher number. I see the voucher number 8 will show up here since we have created one. Then I have this quantity option, which is not at all relevant to this particular line. So here I am not posting any invoice, so I don't have anything related to quantity. So here I am paying rent, right? So quantity is not related to rent. If at all I'm paying for any other transaction or in buying anything or any other service, then I can give quantity here just for reference sake. So it doesn't affect anything here, this quantity. Normally, but for purchase orders and others, sales orders, other documents, their quantity do matters. So prices will be calculated, net amount will be calculated depending on the total number of quantity we have in that. But here quantity is not relevant. I have some options called as reason codes. So here it is empty because we did not configure reason code set. It's a later part of discussion in our course, reason codes concept. So in reason codes, actually, we'll create some reason codes why we are creating this journal, or if at all we are posting anything to error account or anything to suspense account or any reversal transaction or any correction transaction, then we can give some reason codes. What is the basic reason for creating such kind of transaction or posting such kind of correction. For that, we will create reason codes. Mostly for corrections only, they'll use reason codes. We can create reason codes. If at all we select one reason code, we can see that reason comment here. I mean, it's a correction entry. You can see our error in posting or any other reason. You can see here, or also you can manually add any reason if you want. If at all it's a relevant, you can add any reason. More or less like a description. Reason codes also sometimes will be useful. Then I can see the currency. For this particular voucher, currency is US dollar only because by default it takes the accounting currency of the company. The accounting currency of the company in here is US dollar, so automatically it takes US dollar. Suppose if I change it to any other currency other than US dollar, suppose if I change it to Australian dollar, here I can see Australian dollar appearing, but I got an error message saying that there is no active exchange rate between Australian dollar to US dollar. So if at all I don't have an exchange rate configured between Australian dollar to my accounting currency, which is US dollar, I can't post this transaction because system cannot calculate the amount since I don't have any exchange rate between this currency and US dollar. So I'll go for another currency. In that case, I'll go for euro. So with euro, I will have exchange rate, so I don't get any error message. So if at all I select a foreign currency here, then I see the same here in the general as well. Currency gets automatically changed. And I can see an exchange rate here. Come from euro to US dollar, this is the exchange rate. Okay, for every 1 euro, I am getting 1.1775 of US dollars according to the exchange rate that is configured in the system. The same I can see here, euro US dollar to euro exchange rate. I can also manually change the exchange rate here. Someone have asked this question, what if we have to manually change this? Suppose if I have to manually give it as 1.8, I can give 1.8. I can manually change the exchange rate here if I want to, but most of them will not change it. They'll use whatever the existing exchange rates are there in system for that particular date that will automatically appear here. So the date that you select here for the transaction for that particular date, whatever the exchange rate we have in system, that will appear here in this page. So the exchange rates are here. The control of exchange rates will be here. Remember this point. Then I have this tax related details, which I could not give because I do not have any sales tax group and item sales tax group configured it. So it will be empty for now. So I'm not giving any tax related details for now for this particular voucher. Then I can see withholding tax, which in other terms in India called as TDS. So which normally be withheld by the company to pay it to the tax authority later. So this part also will cover during tax module. Then we have this legal entity, company offset, company for the main account, company for the offset account, both are MRF only because we are doing a normal transaction within our legal entity. In case we are doing an intercompany transaction between one company to other company, then this changes. This can be changed. Okay. We'll see that part actually, intercompany transactions part. Going further, we'll see. Then I have this option called as release date. So this is an interesting feature. So if at all I give a release date as 12th, suppose 12th of August. Until and unless 12th of August, I can't post this voucher. System will not allow me to post this voucher since I gave the release date here as 12th. So release date means giving a freedom or releasing this particular voucher to be posted on that particular date on or later of that particular date. Before that, I cannot post it. So that's the condition for release date. Release date, you can see the release date option in a lot of journals, in invoice journals as well as in fixed asset journals. So everywhere it works in the same. Actually, you will see the same kind of menu in every journals going further. Mostly same. Sometimes some minor details will be included in fixed assets and vendor invoice journals. Little bit of other details are included related to that, like in customer payment journals and vendor payment journals also. Almost the same menu will be there, except there will be few other additional items.
So this is at header level or like line item level?
This is line level only for one particular voucher that we have selected here. Okay, for these two vouchers you can post them, but you can't post this line. Okay, this control or the options available here are only for this particular voucher, one line, not for other two lines. Okay, when we do it in the header level, it's for the entire journal, all the lines in the journal.
Okay, so we have at header level also.
Yet we have, but in header level also we have released it, right? I don't think we have here in the header level for this one. Let me check.
Okay.
This I have to close this. Going back in journal. So I don't have in header level, I don't have that control of or release date option. Okay, only in line level I have. And then I have this bank transaction type. If at all I'm doing any bank transaction, I can give a bank transaction type like what I can say check payment or cash payment, deposit, or what is the nature of the transaction. We can give that bank transaction type. This is the very first setup we will learn in cash and bank management module. So we'll see that then. So if at all we have configured everything, we can normally see those options available here, but it will be empty now because we did not work on other modules yet. So that's the thing. Later with invoices and payment. So these things we will discuss only during accounts payable module once we configure the accounts payable module, until and unless you can't understand the terms of payments, cash discounts and all. So we will leave over this menu for now. Generally, this menu is available here because you can also post invoice journals through general ledger also from this place. From this place, literally you can post anything. You can post customer invoices, vendor invoices, you can post fixed asset journals, anything you can post. But most of them will not prefer to post from general ledger. They will directly do in the subledger modules like accounts payable, accounts receivable, because separately we have those modules. One second. So only few people in Asian countries use this general ledger a lot or try to post invoices and all the payment transactions through general ledger. Mostly in India and in China, Vietnam, in Asian countries only. But other than Asian, these few Asian countries or few Asian users, most of them will normally use whatever the designated module for those transactions like accounts payable, accounts receivable, fixed asset. They'll post all those related transactions in those modules only. But you always have a chance to post such kind of transaction through general journal also. Except that you can't print a check in general journal. You can only do that through vendor payment journal. We'll see that part later. Right, there are also some other menu details related to payment, which we will see in the payment journals in accounts payable and accounts receivable. So once you learn that, you can come back and relate the same here. So for now we don't anyway use it, so we will discuss that part later. The same with payment fees, in case if you are using any checks or any other medium of payment where payment fees is also related to them, then we can add the payment fees. Actually we have, for that we have to configure the fee ID details, then the accounts that are related to that fee ID, to which account it has to be debited and credited. All these things we have to configure properly. Then you can use this payment fee. So mostly in these kind of journals, we don't have any payment fees, right? Mostly it will be on payment journals only. If at all we are paying through check, there will be some charges or fees related to check. So that can be added additionally as a payment fee transaction to the original voucher. As an additional voucher, you can use it. So we'll see that again in vendor payment journal and customer payment journal. You can also do fixed asset transactions through journal like acquisition entries or acquisition adjustment, depreciation, sale entries, everything you can do. We have an option too. So keep this in mind. Later again in fixed asset module, we'll discuss this part. Okay. With regards to remittance, this is with payment. If it's suppose we are paying to a vendor, the remittance address of that particular vendor will appear here. Remittance address indicates the payment, the address to which we have to do the payment. So usually remittance address explains that. So whenever we create any remittance address for vendor, we can create many addresses for vendor. One as business address, invoice address, remittance address. So remittance address is usually used only for payments. So whenever we make any payment for that vendor, that remittance address will appear here automatically. So that for that sake only we have. Other than that, we don't have these fields active at all. See, since it's not a payment transaction or any vendor account is not involved or customer account is not involved, you don't see any remittance details. Coming to history about this voucher, if in case this voucher is having any errors previously, you can see it here. Or if somebody have used or worked on this or anyone rejected this particular voucher only in the workflow, then you can see that history details here. Mostly you will only see error details. These all details will not appear or not. Everything is not available actually for this particular localization. So that's all. The most important thing is this part only, this general part. Just focus on this one as well as this invoice part later. Once we discuss this in general, I mean accounts payable, you can relate it. This is also important actually.
What is secondary exchange rate?
Second,
Secondary exchange rate.
secondary exchange rate is actually not available for this localization US. So it's only for few of the localizations in Europe. Secondary exchange rate is available. It's again an optional exchange rate. So if not this, they will use the secondary exchange rate accordingly. So you see this is grayed out or it's not available for this localization. Only for few countries, that too within Europe, we have the secondary exchange rate option actually. Then what else we have? So this one is done. We have this one here in the top. So we have this small option, so you can save the journal once you have created it. If you want to save it, you can use save it. Our system will automatically save it. In Dynamics, in every page, whenever you enter any details, its system will automatically save them. But in case if your net is slow or if system is not working as expected, you can also, for your satisfaction, you can save it. Other than that, if you don't save, also system will automatically save whatever the data that you have entered here. Then we have the option of post. If I click on post, I can see this journal will get posted. Before that, I have this option of validate. I can see validate voucher only. I can also see a new option in the newer version of Dynamics as simulate posting. So simulate posting is nothing but kind of validation only. So all three of them are same. If I click on validate voucher only, it will validate only the single voucher to find any mistakes in this voucher or errors in this voucher. If I click on validate, it will validate the entire lines, all the vouchers within this journal, it will validate. Simulate posting means system will actually perform the actions how it will post. So it will post it actually in a, how can I say, it's a dummy posting. I can say like system will perform all the actions like posting, but it will not post it. So it will just make the action of posting so that it can identify any other error messages that cannot be identified in validation. Normally, simulate posting will be the another option available, but here it is not available since it's a previous environment or previous version. So these things, so if I click on validate now, system will validate this, all the vouchers available here, and see if there are any error messages. See, I have one actually. The transaction cannot be posted until release date and time, which is 8/12/2021, 12 a.m. So for this we gave release date, right? So that is why it is showing that this transaction cannot be posted until and unless the release date is crossed. We gave release date as 12th of August, right? So here you can see the error message indicating that this line is having error. The other two lines are not having any issue. You can also see the voucher number, particular voucher number, which is having the issue, voucher number 8. So you can directly go to the voucher number, go to general, take off this release date, So remove this release date because I don't want to use release date. Close this and try to validate this once again to see if the journal is okay. See, I validated it and I don't have any issues. It is okay. Then I can post it now since I don't have any issues. But let us post it after few discussion few things else. So if I click here on general journals, it will directly take me to the header page. That's all. Nothing specific with that. If I click on lines again, it will take me to the lines page. But this is a wrong journal. I'll click on this one. I'll go to lines. So if I click on lines, it will take me to the line level. If I click on journals, it will take me back to the journals page to the header level. That's all. No significance for this. That would be all for this. Again, we have another option called period journals, which will be our next concept in our course. Actually, period journals are the regular journals that we create and post on periodic basis, either weekly or monthly or yearly or like that. We'll see this part in tomorrow's class, mostly period journals part and how to use this retrieve journal and save journal option. Then I have something with functions, post and transfer. Post and transfer, post and transfer, what it does, it posts the journal lines which are not having any errors or issues, and the lines which are having issues will be transferred to a new journal batch that will be automatically created, and this lines with issue will be transferred to that new journal batch. Then I have some concept of journal descriptions. I can save some default descriptions or create some descriptions where whenever I can drop down this, I can see those descriptions here. I can automatically pick that description rather than manually entering any description like rent payment. So like this, rather than manually entering any description, I can create some descriptions and I can use them. I can drop down and I can see the list of them. I can use one of them if I want to. So that can be done from here, or you can also normally do it from here. So not here, from here functions. So we also have this option called delete journal lines. So you can delete these journal lines if you want. If I click on delete journal lines, so it asks me, do you want to clear the entire journal? You can say that yes, okay, clear it. It will clear the entire journal. If not, cancel it. If not, you can also filter it. Filter by date or filter by amount if at all it permits you. It takes a lot of time. But none of them will use these options. They can directly do here, right? If at all they want to delete any transaction, they can select it and use this delete option. Excuse me. So here I can see this particular journal batch will be deleted if at all I say delete. So it's a selection criteria. Here I can also select multiple journals at a time to delete all of them. Journal batch number 8, journal batch number 9, 10, complete journal, entire journals I can delete. Or else I can also delete the vouchers here. These vouchers are not posted yet, right? So there is no need of deletion. I can, if at all I want to delete it, I can delete from here directly rather than using this option, delete journals. Just a optional. Then the most important one is this one actually, select bridge transactions. This bridge transactions option is used for post-dated checks, mostly for post-dated checks. In case if there are any other business scenarios which use temporary accounts or bridging accounts, then also this can be used. In case of post-dated checks, actually, we'll have some connecting accounts temporarily hold the balance until and unless the check gets cleared. So in that case, when the check gets cleared, we'll select this bridge transactions and clear them. So we'll see that part again in cash and bank management. Once we go through the check mechanism, we'll work with this select bridge transactions. Other than this, these things are not mostly used or uh, preferably selected. Actually, this import account statement and import account statement transactions will generally import the transaction that are available for this particular accounts or import the balance that is available for this account, so that you can also do it in trial balance or you can directly do it in go through the main account and you can print a main account statement, or you can also have an option from doing it from here, importing the account statement through here, through functions. So most important thing in here is post and transfer and select bridge transactions, which we'll see in the later part of the course.
I have one question, Jayaprakash.
Yes, Bala.
This is like select regarding select which transaction. Is it like kind of escrow account something?
Which one?
The select bridge transaction you said, na?
So the select bridge transactions is actually for bridged accounts. Bridging accounts are some accounts that we use for temporary purpose. For few days we will have debit saved in that account. Later we will credit that account and we will transfer that balance to other account.
Okay, okay. I thought maybe something called as escrow accounts where we hold few amounts. I thought
No.
I'm mistaken.
We'll discuss that part actually in cash and bank. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Then I have some fixed asset related transactions actually. I can run proposals for my fixed assets. Actually, none of them will do proposals from here in this journal page. They'll directly do it in fixed assets module. But it always gives you an option to do it here from this page also. But most of the users are regulated from doing all these transactions because for fixed assets there will be separate users and they can't access journal page. And the journal page users who can access journal page cannot access the fixed asset related options. So mostly it will not be used by any user here in this page. But these are all related to fixed assets only. You can run acquisition proposal, depreciation proposal and all. We'll see that part in fixed asset module. Under inquiries, I can see balance control inquiry, which is very important, and sales tax totals for the entire sales tax amounts that are calculated for these three lines will be shown here. And I can see view market transactions in case if I have any transactions for settlement. Some vendor invoices I can settle through here. I can make a payment through here. Vendor payment also I can do it through journal. In that case, I can mark any of the invoices for settlement and pay them. So that can be done through here in journal ledger also. In case if I have marked any such transactions, I can see that view market transactions here. We will again come across this concept in accounts payable during vendor payments. So we'll see it then. Balance control is one of the topic in general ledger only. We'll see this actually after 4-5 classes. What happens with this balance control is it generally shows the existing balance in the account which you are using in the journal, and if at all after posting this journal how much balance will remain, everything and all those details will show up here. So you can give any account as a balance control account. Once you give that, you can see the balances and all. So we'll come across and we will discuss this concept separately. Here in journal only we have that actually in our course content. I think we have this concept of balance control here. 17th topic, balance control accounts. We are here now, the 12th topic. Okay, so tomorrow we'll discuss periodic journals. So that is with this line level details. Okay. So other than this, actually, I have some other details which controls the entire journals, which whatever the journal batch here we post and the lines within that will be controlled by this menu. I'm clicking on this journal name. It will directly take me to the journal name menu where we have created this journal name, journal. So here we have created the journal name, gave the journal type as daily. We gave this voucher series, right? I hope you remember, every one of you. So in this, I have few options. So I have this approval mechanism. Everything is inactive here. I'm not using any approval mechanism. Suppose if I say active, and if I say it should be approved by some of the users in this approval group, there will be users in this approval group, right? We have created this approval group when we have discussed about ledger calendar. So in that, if I am a user, I can only approve it. Once after approving, then only someone can post it. So this approval mechanism will be applicable for this entire journal. Whatever the journal batch I create using this journal, so this approval mechanism will be used. If at all, if I disable this approval mechanism here, I can see this workflow mechanism. So I can use either one, this one or this one. This workflow mechanism I can use. I told you, right? This I can submit a workflow. If at all I configure a workflow, that will be available here, and I can select that workflow here. If at all I select that workflow, that will be directly applicable to all the journals that I create. Suppose if I go here, go back, I have a workflow journal here. So you can see this workflow journal. So if I go here within this, I can see a workflow which is added here. So I have two workflows configured. I can use one of them accordingly. So if at all I configure the same, I can also use this for this journal as well. If not, I don't apply it here. This is for workflow. And I have another option called private for user group. Suppose if I select this user group here, private for user group, if at all there are 10 users in this approver group, only that 10 users can use this journal name, and they only can create any journals using this journal name. Suppose if I have to create a journal name here, journal here, only I can't see it because I am not in the approvers list. In that approver group, I am not there. My name is not added in that. So I can't see journal here now currently. Suppose again, if I go back here, I mean, I'll remove this one empty journal. I'll go back here. I'll add my name in this approvers list. Suppose if I go here, I can see users here. My name is admin, right? I logged in with admin details here. So actually admin is already added here. But I don't know why I can't see it. Let me remove it, add it back to the users, save it, close it, user group, save it and close it, and I can create new journal, and still I can't see it. Actually there is some issue maybe, but this mechanism will be working in that way. So it is only private for those 10 users, whoever is there in the approvers group. So other than these people in this group cannot access or create any journals using this journal name, or cannot access any previous journals that are created by using this journal name. So that's for this private for user group. Whenever you are a user and you cannot see any journal that was already created, so the concept is that you don't have enough permissions, or you are not a active member in this particular group, or you are not added into this group. You can add yourself if you have enough permissions to add yourself into the private group. Most of them also will use this private group option. Then only the users in that group will have access for the transactions that are created. So I have voucher series, we have created this previously. Then I have this option new voucher in connection with balance, new voucher manual, or one voucher number only. So this will work in a way I'll explain you. In connection with balance means whenever I create any transaction, once it is balanced, and if I click a new line, a new voucher number will automatically taken. We have seen previously journal voucher number 8, voucher number 9 and 10 are created, which means this is a default selection in connection with balance. So I'll show you this example once again here in this journal batch number. I'm going for lines. If I click here also, it will directly take me to lines. Here voucher number 8 is created, and I have given all the accounts and balanced voucher. Once it is balanced, once I click on new, it will again create voucher number 9. So everything is filled in here also, and it is balanced, and I can, if I click on new, it will create voucher number 10. So here also everything is balanced. If I click on new now, I can see voucher number 11 appearing automatically. So that is working in this way because the condition here in the journal is that new voucher will be picked according to the connection with balance. Suppose if I say one voucher number only means how many ever lines you will create, it will take only single voucher. Again for new journal batch, it will take a new voucher. Suppose if I use this one voucher only, if I go back, if I click a new line here and create a journal here and go for lines, I'll quickly do a transaction. I'll select a ledger account. Suppose I'll select rent expenses again here. Then I'll give a debit of 100 and offset account as cash account. So this is a balanced voucher. Now I can save this. I can see it is balanced. If at all I click new, I should actually get voucher number 12. But if I click new, I'll still get 11 only. It is because I said that use single voucher only. Within this journal batch, how many ever lines you will create, it will use single voucher only, and all the transactions after posting will be posted under single voucher only. Suppose if I use this travel expense account here and give debit of 50 $200, okay, and use the same cash account, or this time I'll use petty cash account here. So two different accounts. Again, if I click new, I'll get the same voucher number 11. So I'll remove this. I'll post this one to show you how it will show in the voucher. Generally, if I post it with two different voucher numbers, it will show me two different voucher transactions while I track here by using clicking on voucher. But now if I click here and click on voucher, since I have single voucher, both of the transactions will be shown under single voucher. See under voucher number 11, this one, I can see rent account debited, cash account credited, travel expense account debited, petty cash account credited. So all the four account impacts are there in the single voucher number, because I have used a single voucher number here. System will pick a single voucher number when I use this option. This option, one voucher only, one voucher number only. But if I say in connection with balance, for every individual transaction, it will take a different voucher number like we have seen previously. We also have this option of manual. So what happens in manual is system will not pick any voucher number. You have to give it manually. It will give you an empty page. You have to give it manually. So I'm giving it manual here. Suppose I'll create a new journal. I'll go for this journal and I go for lines. I don't see a voucher number here. I have to give it manually. But most of them will not use it because users will definitely make any mistakes in selecting manual voucher numbers. They will give different patterns. So that's why they will avoid giving manual voucher numbers, but you can also manually give voucher number or any other format you want, but highly not recommended. So that's with this journal option. So most of them will use this one in connection with balance only. They will never use manual, and one voucher number hardly for any other task, or if they have any other situation they will use. Other than that they don't use. Okay. Then we also have few other options. Actually, we passed the time. Give me 5 minutes. Let me try to finish this part. Okay. So number allocation at posting, actually, this number allocation at posting option is always disabled, but if you can enable it, what happens is system will give a temporary voucher number when you create any voucher transaction using this journal. Suppose if I do this and if I create a voucher, a new journal here, and I go for general, go for lines, system will take a temporary voucher number here. See here, MRF001 system took a temporary voucher number. So once I create and post the transaction, system will take the original voucher number. Suppose if I take cash account here, I'm debiting my cash account for 200 and I'm crediting my revenue account, any other revenue account. Okay. I don't have 4 series account, so business revenues, I'm doing it. I'm posting it. So initially when I create, system takes temporary voucher number, but once I post it, system will give the original voucher number. See, this original voucher number is here now. Voucher number 12. Previously it took MRF001, right? So now again, if I click here on voucher, it will show me the original voucher number. Sorry, here the original voucher number. But most of them again will not use this temporary voucher numbers. Again, if I click on new and select journal, it will take the temporary voucher number once again, MRF002. But once I post it, it will change the voucher number to the original voucher number. So this temporary voucher number will be there in the number sequences. Under in the general ledger parameters, in number sequences, we have this temporary voucher number sequence. We can also give a format for this if we want. It is taking default format actually. We can give any format. We can change the format if we want. So that is with, oh sorry, not this one. So that is with this temporary vouchers part. So most of them will not use it because sometimes there will be data corruption or misrepresentation of vouchers or linkage of vouchers will sometimes disappear because of this. So that's why they don't use this. And again, I have this option called as document. So in this document field will be left over normally as empty field only anytime because we don't post a single document using a journal name. Anytime we'll post lot of documents like invoices, lot of invoices we post, right? If at all we are posting a single document, a single type of document, you will have this document name. Other than that, you don't use any document name here. So it's a entirely optional field. Then you can give this fixed offset account. If I give fixed offset account in this journal level, whatever the journal batches I create using this journal and whatever the lines I create within that, always will use the fixed offset account. That offset account I can give here. Fixed offset account like cash account. So whenever I create any transaction journal batch and within that lines, so all those lines will automatically take the offset account as this cash account. So if at all I give it in the journal header level for that particular journal only, within that how many lines I have, for that it will take the default offset account. But if I give it in the journal level itself, how many ever journal batches you create and how many ever lines you create in that journal batches, for all those lines it will automatically take the offset account as cash account. And you can also override it in any level. If you want, you can override it in the header level as well as in the line level also. You can change it in the voucher. It is editable or you can change it. But to reduce some time for users, if at all they post any expense transactions where offset account is always cash account, then they can use this offset account as cash account in the journal level. But mostly they don't use it, and I don't recommend you to do so until and unless a client has such requirement. Then I have posting layer. Posting layers are quite 10 layers actually we have, but most of the times we use current layer only. Very often we'll use tax layer and operations layer. I will discuss that part in fixed asset module. Only for fixed asset journals we'll use these other layers, but mostly we'll use current layer only. Okay, we'll stress more on this particular layers part in fixed asset module. Until then, let it be current layer. By default, system takes current layer and let it be current layer. And I have this part of details level, which is details and summary. Let it be details and keep fees in journal. Mostly whenever the fees transaction is posted, payment fees transaction, it will be within the journal voucher. It won't create a new voucher. If at all you want to create a new voucher, you can use this option. Create a new voucher. Lines limit, again we have this option lines limit. I told you this lines limit option in the header level. The same is applicable for the journal level as well. Then I have fixed exchange rate. If at all if at all I'm doing only foreign currency transactions with this journal and I can select that particular foreign currency here, I can say fixed exchange rate so that whenever I do any transaction, it will use the same fixed exchange rate. Any journal transaction I post, it will use a fixed exchange rate for that. If I don't use this, the exchange rate will fluctuate according to the date of the transaction. Again, I have this sales tax include sales tax option. This is, I told you the same way it will work here in the journal names level also. Usually it is applicable for all the journal batches that I create. For all the journal batches, it will be including sales tax only. If I say this exclude sales tax means for all the journal batches I create, it will be excluding sales tax, or sales tax will be calculated upon the base amount of the journal rather than getting included within the base amount of the journal. Okay. Then hide sales tax field in journal entry forms. Mostly you don't have to hide sales tax fields in journal entry forms. You will show up. But if you hide this, it will not show up the sales tax fields. So here when we create journals in the bottom, we have seen previously sales tax amounts. So that will not show up. You can just, this is temporary field. I mean, maintainable field. You can either want to see them, you can see them, or else you can ignore them. Also, I can give default dimensions here. If at all I give default dimension here, like department is finance. So whenever I create any transaction for every voucher, by default, it will take finance as the department. You can also override it or change it if you want to, but here if at all you give it here in the journal level, whenever you create any transactions using this journal, this default dimensions will appear along with the main accounts or the subledger accounts that you select. Okay. Then I have two other options here, journal control and posting restrictions. These two are little important. We'll discuss this tomorrow. This journal control and posting restrictions. After discussing this, we will discuss tomorrow about periodic journals, this concept of periodic journals, so which is also important. So why I've explained everything here is because in support you will get a lot of issues. Controls will be there in here. In this page, if something is getting enabled or disabled according to which you will get a related error messages. So whenever you get any related error messages regarding posting of a journal or any errors with journal, you can come back here and check what are the things they have configured in the journal name page or in the header level or in the line level. By step you can check. It is same for every journal. For any customer payment journal, vendor payment journal or invoice journal, you have the same menu details. So you will create normal payment journals also, you'll create here only. So you will have the same menu. So understanding this menu is important. Okay. You can also search for this actually here in the, you can normally type journal names menu, and in Dynamics document you will get like the same. You can see that document, and you can also dig deep more on this. Actually, what I'll explained is something, I mean the same will be there in the documentation also, but if you want to go through the theoretical part, you can. So that would be all for today's class. We have discussed about the line level menu and the journal level. So the hierarchy is like this. First it will be journal level. The control will be at journal level. Okay. Second will be at header level. Third will be at line level. So whatever I give in the journal menu level will be applicable for all the journals that I create and all the lines within that journal. Whatever I give in the header level menu, like here, so it will be applicable for all the lines within the journal, and it is specific for only one journal, not for all other journals that are created using the journal name. Okay. And again in line level, if I give, it is applicable for only one voucher or only one line, not for other lines in the journal. So that's here in the line level menu. More or less you will find the same kind of options. So if this number sequence is not picked, I'll delete this. Okay. Now I'll create, it will automatically take the number sequence. So it's okay. I'll delete the entire journal and it will take no problem. So remember this hierarchy. First is journal name level. Second is journal header level. Third is line level. Okay. So accordingly, the menu items will work, and you can also override them. Then if you have any doubts, you can stay back, or else we can meet in tomorrow's class. We'll discuss about periodic journals and that two leftover topics in the journal names menu. Okay, we'll just close this. Close this. Anything else, guys? Anyone? Rishi can stop the recording.